Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video we have got this lovely Class 47. This is the new tooling type with a 6-pin decoder socket built in. So bear with me on the video because I thought it was one thing then it was another, so we'll jump around a little bit. But I don't normally get to show these. I've got a few of these myself because they're awesome bits of kit. So in the future you will see these, but I got asked to fix this for somebody and it's not running quite right, so let's go over to the bench and start messing around with it and see what we get, shall we? Okay, so here we are at the bench. Now to remove this shell, which is the first thing I want to do because it's a good way not to cosmetically damage anything inadvertently, I'm just lifting either side about in the middle there with my nail under it, being careful not to scratch the paint. Now the good thing with these new tool Class 47s is they just slide off. All the lights are in either end, or shall I say the lenses are all in either end and the lights are on the chassis there. So we'll put the shell to one side and keep in the correct orientation. What I want to do, this one's fitted with a DCC decoder, so we'll check that out in a minute, but before we put it on the track and check it, this got sent to me with some gears in it. Okay, so I think the guy might have suspected broken gears, but we're just going to pop a bogey out. What I'm doing here is pushing against one side and pulling out, and then on the other side doing the same thing, and out it comes. These pop in and out on the new tooling Class 47. First thing I want to check is, are the gears okay? So I'm just going to roll my finger. Be careful because sometimes the sandpipes on some models are under here and you can stab yourself. So I'm just going to roll the wheels, and I'm feeling here for any gnarly gears or any weird rollingness. That feels absolutely fine, so I'm going to pop that one back in to the loco. So this is my first point of call with this loco. It's the easiest thing you can, just pop out the bogies, and then let's just see. Yeah, so that feels fine too. How bizarre. Let's pop that back in, and also just check in here. Look at these worm gears. I mean, it looks in pretty good shape. I don't know what's up with this. Normally, what I do is I put power on, but because it's DCC, I didn't really want to do that. This is fitted with a decoder. What I want to do, I'm not seeing anything obvious on this chipboard. These diodes here look okay. What I'm going to do, we'll take out this decoder, and it is in the correct way. I had a little look. Pin 1 is this side, and pin 6 is this side. And on this decoder in particular, pin 1 is here, so that would line up properly. I'm going to put that to one side, and I've got a blanking chip here to test the loco on DC. I like to do this because sometimes it can just be a decoder that's the issue. Let's take this to our test track and just see what it is or isn't doing, and then I'll continue, you see, to diagnose this loco on DC, and then once we've established whether it's the loco or the chip, we can then maybe put the chip back in. So let's go to the test track. We've got our DC chip, blanking chip in it, so that means that I can run it on DC, and it runs. There's a forward light, rear light, and I'll just check the other side. Okay, so let's just see if it'll crawl. Do you know what? Let's hope it is just the decoder, shall we? Okay, so putting the chip back in is what we need to do, because what I'm going to do is program or try and read the chip. So this blanking chip can go to one side. So I know my blanking chip works. That's nice. So pin 1, which is just identified here on the decoder there with this pin, so we'll turn it around and in she goes. Okay, so we're back on the same test track, but now we're using DCC. So this is technically now a programming track. I'm using JMRI, and let's see what we get, shall we? Programming track, turn it on, identify. So this, when I click a button, this loco should start stepping up and down the track. And it's moving. Okay, so I've read the chip, that's good. Everything looks normal. So I'm going to put it now on my running track. Okay, so we're on the DCC running track now. It's the same track. All I'm doing off camera is swapping the wires over between different devices I've got. So let's try it in reverse on the chip. Wow, okay. At this point, I'm starting to wonder why it got sent to me to fix. If anything, it needs a bit of a clean. However, on DC it was running absolutely fine. I think what we'll do is I'll take them bogies back out and I'll clean them up. I'll show you how I do that, because it's just stopped there as well. Yeah, I think just the bogies need cleaning up. I can't see any immediate issues going on here. The chip has been recognised. It's just I keep giving it a nudge for it to get moving, which is an indication of the dirty pickup. So I'll give it a bit of a clean, and I think that's about it. So let's go over to the bench. I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm just going to pop a bogie out and have a look in here. I should have done that at the beginning, to be honest with you. You'll see the grease at the top of the bogie there. That tends to get on the top and get on the pickups inside. So we're going to degrease these and that a little bit. And I'll just put that one there, and I'll take this one out as well. I'm going to use alcohol to get the grease off certain things. So I have IPA isopropyl alcohol here in this little glass tub from IKEA, and so what we'll do, I've got a cotton bud here, just dib that in there. You don't want to get the cotton bud fibres on the gears, they won't like that. I'm not trying to clean the gear, but you see there we've got some stuff on the end of the cotton bud. But it's these little metal pieces that poke out the top. They transmit the power from the wheels to the chassis, and what I was noticing is they seem to be intermittent, shall we say. Now whoever had this knew about the 47, because these little bad boys underneath can contact points when these are going over them, so they've shaved those down a bit, which is nice to see. So we'll put these guys back in, and that should be quite a difference now on the running. It should run a lot better. Just simply adding, it's probably just a film of oil that's got onto those pickups, and that's caused the issues. Let's go back to the test track. Okay guys, so we're going to open this loco up. It's the only way to do this properly. I'll show you how to do it. So this video's turned into a clean to let's tear it apart, shall we? Now if I lift up this end, see how it just stops? If I lift up this end, it will continue to run because the power's getting through it from the other end, the bogie. This is why rolling road's really handy. So I know that there's something going on in here with the top of the bogie and the chassis where it's not getting power, which is causing us some weird power losses. So we need to open this up. So we'll go back to the bench. What we've already done then is clean the bogies, clean the wheels, and that's just not helped. So it's a mechanical issue up in here. So it should die, and it does. Okay, so this guy isn't getting power to the chassis. Let's go to the bench. The bogies are out. These little guys on the end just slide out, unless someone super glued them in. That would be fun. Yep. Right, there's one Phillips screw here. One over here. So what we need to do, you see, is actually split the chassis apart. And this is why, only after playing with it for a little bit of time, it reared its ugly head and we found the issue. What I'm going to do though is just sort of leave that sort of floating. We need to remove this battery box because there's a screw under there. And just sort of coax it out of its hole. There's little clips. And it should slide off, okay? We can only put it back on one way, but you'll see in the background, see I'm leaving the orientation of how it all came off the loco. There is another Phillips screwdriver PC jobby in here. Right, I'm going to try and wiggle this apart, but we need to just remove, there's a plastic clip here and here. Boom, boom. And it grenaded itself. Right, okay. We'll put that to one side. Wowzers, okay. Right, so our friend in article, I believe, are these little pickups here. That one and that one just there. So, what we're going to do, when you take a split chassis like this apart, don't forget to put that back in. That's an isolating washer that goes between both pieces of the chassis. What I'm going to do though, so I'm just going to leave it in this orientation. I'm going to take this one out. That's one of the pickups. And just looking at it, it's pretty burnished. So I'll take this one out as well. I'm going to do just this half as the chassis. We'll leave them in the other side over there. I'm going to grab our 1000 grit wet and dry. Don't worry too much about all them bits. I know how they go back together, so we're good. Just look at the reassembly, I guess, if you're in any doubt. These look actually like someone's got super glue on them, oddly. It looks like super glue vapor. So we're going to come along here. What I find bizarre is how this was running okay on DC. But on DCC, it's just not happy. At all. So I won't bore you with details, but I'm just trying to clean these off so they're nice and shiny again. You can see what I'm doing. So I'll do this to all the pickups and we'll be back in a second. Okay, we have returned. I'm going to zoom in for you because I think it was a little bit zoomed out last time. Right, I've cleaned the pickups somewhat. They're a bit shinier. I've put a bit of a bow in them. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but that's what I've done. And they go in like this, so that end has a little bit of a tag that it has to go against. It almost seemed like someone had super glue on their fingers and they were just mucking around with some of the bits in here. Okay, so that's how it goes. We'll do the opposite on the other end. And I guess this video, I'm not gonna edit this so much. It's just I'm gonna show you the way in which I thought, oh, I could clean it. That's all it will need. And then it turns into I might as well have just taken it apart to begin with. The problem this loco had should be sorted by this now. Right, now I've got this one side in, so I'll do the other pickups. I'll do the other pickups the same way I've just done these. We've got a prop shaft there. So feed that into the motor, and then our little worm drive unit there. I've not removed the motor, but if you wanted to, you just sort of lift it out. Maybe just pen mark where and how things are before you do that. So that one's just gone in. This little guy's got to go in as well. Much the same. So that's in. Okay, once you've got your pickups back in, so you can see just there and that end, they're both in. Okay. Do not forget this little piece of plastic. That's kind of stuck to that piece, but they come loose and people forget to put them in. So make sure that's in. Make sure those are all the way down in that half of the chassis. And then what you're going to do is roll this over and give it a lovely little wiggle. And it's more or less together. What I will do, I'm going to just hold these together. So just checking that we've got that piece of plastic between the chassis halves, and come in with our screw because it went in this side. Now on the back here it's falling out, but there's a bit of plastic that goes in that side. Okay, hold your finger over it. So it's all a bit fiddly really. Whilst I'm screwing this in, I'm trying to hold the two chassis halves together so that it doesn't grenade itself and fall apart again. I'm not making that dead tight, it's just tight enough. And these little pieces of these little guys just click on the chassis like this, okay? Now, that's that, which is lovely. Next is this. There's mixed reviews on how you put these in from people. I like to make it so that these fingers are on the outside of the terminals on the motor in there. So just checking nothing's broken. So like that, okay. And then on the other side, like that. Now before you screw it down, just make sure they are correct. It kind of goes where it goes at this point. We'll get a screw back in here. The screw back in here. These are important because they get the power to the PCB. You need both of these screws, not really tight, but you need the chassis to be joined to the chipboard, otherwise you won't get power from the track to your board. These just slide in, yep, just like that, just like that. Same for the other end. He says. Yep. Just like that. And then we can put our battery box back on. It goes on this way. I'll just show you that. There you go, clicked on. We can pop our bogies back in. And then we can go try it on the track again. Now we should have eliminated our pickup issue by doing what we've just done. So let's go check it out. Hurrah! It's running. So if I pick up one end, it still runs. So we know that end's getting power to the chassis. And then if we go this end, it should continue to run. And it does. Which we know that this end's now getting power to the loco. So she's all good. I think that's what the problem was the pickup at the top of the bogie. Not a problem now. So you might be able to put a bit of wet and dry on the end of, say, a cocktail stick and clean those pickups without actually in the chassis, without actually having to pull the chassis apart. In my case, I know what I'm doing. I wouldn't say it's a 5-minute job because it's a lifetime of experience that's added up to this, but it's just a pickup issue. And you can fit a Stay Alive to a loco on DCC and get pretty good running with a pretty bad running loco. That's the beauty of them. However, in this case, I cleaned the wheels without you seeing the axles. I took them out, and that's much the same as all the other Graham Farish locos out there. In fact, most Dapols as well. You take the bogie frame off so you can get access to the wheels. That didn't really fix the issue we were having there, where it had a bit of an intermittent. Sometimes it would run, sometimes it wouldn't. So very bizarre. Let's just remove these. If you want to know, these are DCC Concepts Rolling Road. I don't know, stands, I guess. So yeah, absolutely fantastic little runner. Now, I mean, I thought it was anyway on DC, but it turns out, I guess, with the decoder accelerating and decelerating quite slowly, that you need better pickups than DC in this case. So to put the shell back on, it is simply a case of just sliding it on. Now, when I took the shell off, the buffer beam popped off, and if this ever happens to you, make sure these little tiny pieces are on the outermost of that shell, because they normally get broken off, and then pop, go straight back in. There's lugs on the inside of the shell. There's one there that's closer to the cab, and this one's further away from the cab. On the loco, this groove is closer to the end, that one's further away, so I know that this has to go in like that, and if I go pop, it's on. And she's alive. So I think what we'll do is we'll call that a day. Gonna have a happy customer now, because this guy sent me some gears with it as well, so I think he suspected broken gears, but it's not, which is good for him. Beautiful loco. Hopefully I'll get to meet the guy, because he's got similar tastes, I think, to me. Right, that's enough of that. Hopefully this video has not lost you too much, and really, that's it, guys. You know how to take the shell off one of these, put it back on. If the buffer beam comes off, you know how to put it back on. Disassembling somewhat the loco, and yeah, hopefully it's helped. Bit of fun to watch anyway, innit? Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.